Hello, Riel. How are you?
Good, and you?
I'm good. Welcome to the podcast. And tell me why you were here.
I'm here because I've worked all my life around knowledge and how knowledge functions in our societies, and I'm very glad to come back. I was here last year. This year to talk a little bit about the shift from material and tangible to immaterial and intangible, but also to talk about something that's fundamental to the work I do, which is futures literacy.
Okay, we're going to talk about that shortly. I want to talk about more about the reality. And when I said the digital world, you said it's not called digital.
No, it's called digital, but digital is more of a marketing term. I mean, in the past, we talked about things like the Iron Age or the Bronze Age or the electrical age. But when you think about electricity and I say electrical age, what does it mean to you? Nothing. It means nothing. You just have electrical cables, digital, zeros and ones, big deal. Okay, what's really crucial is what we do with it. What's really crucial is how we organize society. So when you talk about a period in time, it's an industrial society, or it's a society that's organized around mass production, mass consumption, or farming, rural society. And so the issue for me here is not, is it digital or not digital? The question is, how do we understand what we're doing?
Yes, and how we are interacting and what experience we are getting from it. So we are living in a material world, and now we're becoming more adapted to a virtual world that we live in.
I think the virtual world is one of the really important components here, okay? And we had this incredible, very unexpected moment of experience with COVID, where we realized we had to be more intangible, more immaterial, because the material contact was bad. So we stopped the material and we did the immaterial.
Yeah.
And we realized that we could do a lot more.
We can get rid of a lot of material from.
We realized that we could do that, but then we've gone back. And one of the interesting things is that if you look at the dot-com boom, so this was in the 1990s, many of the things that they talked about, they thought would happen quickly, but they haven't happened quickly. So many people, here's another one I can give you. This is, people call it digital. They also say fast, accelerating. I don't think so. For me, it's slow. The things we talked about in the 1990s around education, around healthcare, around the gig economy, around dematerialization, disintermediation, those things have happened at a very slow pace. There's been a lot of resistance because the old way of doing things, well, there's a lot of people who are very interested in maintaining the old way of doing things.
Yes, the traditional way, and that's the resistance, which is nature and human interaction that we wanted to stay like this. We wanted to stay physical.
Well, I'm not so sure.
Yeah,
I'm not so sure. I don't think that we're inherently attached to any particular configuration. Think of protocols like shaking hands or not shaking hands, right? What those signify are protocols, rituals that we've established for understanding each other, for talking about trust. The way we dress signals status, relationships. You make a decision. These things evolve.
Like the uniform in the army, so we know each other, and it's the suits and in the workplace.
And you may or may not have heard that in the time of Mao Zedong, everybody wore blue suits. Everybody was dressed the same. Sometimes they talk about school and they say all the children should be dressed the same. So there's no competition or there's no sense in jealousy.
Yeah.
So we have many ways of understanding our relationships to each other that are material, but that are also based on what we say, what we do, and what we show. So for instance, if I show you my kitchen, well, if we work in the office, you'll never see my kitchen. If we work virtually, I can show you my kitchen. But do we do that? No, we don't do it. Why? Because it's a ritual, a protocol that we haven't invented.
We put the virtual background that shows an office and we be in the bedroom, for example.
This is it. We hide our intimacy because we don't know how to use it. All I'm saying here is that when we think about the relationships that we have, one way to think about them is that they can be very lumpy, what we call lumpy. They're in big blocks. So you write a letter or you see somebody physically. In the past, that was the only two options.
Yeah.
Okay. Then there was the telephone. Now you could call them. Okay. And then there became text messages. Then became email. Then there became, the virtual Zoom. Now we have even the concession of virtual and augmented reality, where if we were sitting here, I could see your resume on my virtual reality glasses, my augmented reality glasses. So there's ways of us understanding the fractioning of relationships so they're more precise, so that we don't waste resources, for instance, going somewhere. It's hugely expensive. I mean, here I am physically. We could have done this virtually.
Yes.
I took an airplane to come here. It's expensive in terms of time, in terms of jealous. But we don't have the sense that we can actually make contact because we just don't have the protocols, the rituals. So this is one of the big things about a world that is more intangible, less monumental, less big shrines, big physical places where people congregate. It's one where we can establish relationships of many different varieties, but we have to be able to invent the protocols that make sense for us.
But is it the protocols or it's the technology, and what's delaying it is our culture and relationships and protocols and
I think we're trying to say the same thing. I do not believe that tools or technology drive anything. We are our tools. The tools are not independent of us. They're not independent of us. They are dependent on what we do with them. So if I tell you to run faster than you can run, well, you say, I can't run faster than I can fall over. Well, it's the same thing with your tools. Are your tools driving you to run to do things faster than you can do them? No, you're doing them because you can. Now the question becomes, what do you understand? And if you use the old protocols of when, people had to bow, in a world where you can connect with somebody directly through email, well, you're going to fall over because it's strange. You don't know what to do. You don't know how to. So it's a cultural adaptation that takes time, but also it's power, and very much power. And so one of the issues, for instance, today is that we're all generating content. This podcast is content. Who owns this content? How do we take responsibility for it? How does it become part of who we are? And if it's only on the basis of scale, meaning influencer, meaning status, then, it's a very small, narrow pyramid. But if it's because we know each other and we can connect with each other and you cultivate your own identity, then we can create something very rich, but very diverse, not standard, not massified, not lowest common denominator. This is a fundamentally different set of relationships. But what's it about? It's about the fundamental thing that we care about. It's about meaning. And there's not enough meaning. Being in a car waiting for the traffic to go has no meaning. When you sit in a metro and you're waiting in Paris, where I live, you're thinking, tick tock, where's my life going? Everywhere I go, everywhere in the world, people are sitting in traffic. Is this the purpose of human life?
No. But again, I understand that, but the end goal is the meaning, and is the communication with each other, is meeting each other, and but there are some physical and natural things that's, I guess it's important. Otherwise, we might go faster, but maybe in the wrong direction.
Of course, yeah, and I mean, you're absolutely right. And I think, one of the things that's fascinating, is that it's true that we have spent a great deal of effort making our tools more powerful and more efficient. Why? So we can spend less time on the physical, less time on the material. Look, obviously, we're not farmers. There was a time when 80%, 90% of the population was farming. Right? Today, it takes a very, very small percentage of the population to feed everybody, to create things, material things.
Yes.
It's been declining everywhere in the world over time because we get more efficient. That's one of the objectives of the material world.
Yes.
On the other hand, are we paying attention to the immaterial world, the world of meaning and value, the things that are not hierarchical? If I say, your happiness is not as good as my happiness, that's ridiculous. It's not higher or lower, better or worse. It's happiness is happiness. And so those things that are not hierarchical, not sort of controlled, these things are the really substantive parts of life. You can't get more efficient at that.
But we define happiness with material things, and that's where we can see who's happier.
And we have a lot of people who care about mindfulness and psychology and depression and alienation and feeling that they're not connected and they don't know who they are, they don't know where to go, what's happening to our identity. As a result, you get nostalgia and you get fear. And then when you're afraid, when you don't feel sure of who you are, because who you are is changing all the time as you get older, as the world changes. But if you're not feeling secure about who you are, you're right, then you can't, how can you feel secure about somebody who's different? So you're frightened of people who are different, of cultures that are different. The result is that we don't understand each other, and we have so much conflict. So we really have a question here, a challenge of understanding that we live in a world that is always changing, and that we have to be comfortable in that world and build up the capacity. And this is where futures literacy comes in.
Yeah.
Because futures literacy is something that helps us to realize that there are different kinds of futures. There's the future that says, I drop something, it falls. I cross the road, I need to be careful for a car. I'm a baby, I cry, I get fed. So there's this kind of idea of the future that's very survival oriented, very practical, and particularly something we learn when we're protected, when we're children, and we're protected from the things being strange, different. But then when you get to be an adolescent and you want to be popular and you go to a party, how can you be popular? You don't know. Furthermore, it's an emergent property. So you have the right shoes, the wrong shoes. You say the right thing, the wrong thing. You experiment and it emerges.
And this is how you become creative. And I guess creativity is the closest thing of predicting the future. Like whenever we break the rules and be creative somehow, we just reach to something uncertain, or we don't know what's gonna have a result, but the impact it might be the future.
I hear you, and I agree with you fundamentally, but let's just reframe it a little bit.
Okay.
In the following sense, is that it's the Silicon Valley slogan, you create the future. And there's a very pretentious, from my point of view, position amongst humans that we can create and control the future. I don't think so. I don't think humans create the future. We're part of
Predict the future, not create it.
And I don't think we can predict it. It's not predictable because it's inherently open, precisely because of creativity. Creativity is happening all the time. Difference is happening all the time. In this conversation right now, every second that we go, we're moving 10,000 kilometers because our planet is moving, and the galaxy's moving, and time is moving. So everything changes all the time. And so we need to be able to understand that we're part of a creative universe, and that's not something you can predict and not something you can control. We cannot play small g gods. We're not the ones who say, I know what I'm going to do tomorrow and I'm going to impose it. Furthermore, why would you want to impose? The thing to say to your children is, I have confidence in you. I want you to live your life, not me put you in a prison of what I think is best for you.
Yes, but that's the pattern that we lived in, and we kind of know that it's if you do that, if you study, you're gonna have like a certain position in life. It's just a pattern, which is not the future. That's the past. That's the experience. Yeah, the future is what comes after that we don't know, which is creativity and just do something that you don't know, and it might hit well. I mean, the percentage is very less.
Did you study? What did you study?
I studied business development, but
And here you are doing a podcast.
Yes.
Did you expect that?
no.
No. So that's the point. We know for a very long time that what you study does not determine what you do. It's just not true. It's a story that we tell. Relax. You can make this investment, follow the rules, do what you're told, and everything will be fine. This is false. This is a deceptive. No wonder they're angry. No wonder they're disappointed, because that's not the way the world works. It never worked that way. It's a false story. It's a paternalistic story. But it's not I'm a father myself. I'm not criticizing fathers, but it's what do you do with that power? Do you use that paternalism to create control and conformity and to argue, I know the future, so I'm going to tell you what's good for you? No, you need to say, I don't know the future, but together we will develop the capacity to be imaginative, to be creative, to be improvisational, to look for meaning.
Yes, true. How close we are with the AI and the technology that is happening in really the virtual world to be more immersive, and we thought of the 3D goggles gonna be soon, but it took time.
It was disappointing. Yeah. I went out and bought a VR headset, and then COVID hit, and I was pretty quickly disappointed, and I sold it. So it
It's
wasn't.
taking time. It just and I thought with the invention of the blockchain, which can kind of like have an asset for your digital assets, and then you can create your own world where you own it.
Totally, completely. I mean, I think you know, the blockchain, for instance, is one of the things that is really underdeveloped, underused. But I think the internet is very underused. Meaning, it was pretty clear a long time ago. I mean, in the 1990s, that like with all developments of new territory, frontiers, like the virtual, that you need to have rules, and you need to have some sense of equal rights and equal
A
justice.
sense of value a little bit as well, I would say.
Well, that you express those values in ways that you can codify together, okay? And this is not new. This is something that's happened for human societies for a very long time. So today, because we don't own our identity, we can't say, I am who I am and I take responsibility as a virtual citizen. It's very difficult to take advantage of the internet the way it is today. The quality of the data is not good. Nobody cares.
Yeah.
You don't know when your data is going to be stolen or taken over or used for pattern recognition. So from my perspective, we're still in a very early stage of the shift to this more virtual world. And one of the things I was going to say about pattern recognition, because intelligence is not the right word, we're not talking about intelligence here. We're talking about pattern recognition that helps you. Libraries are an incredible resource. You can go into a library and you can find books on all the subjects. Is this some sort of cheating? Is this some sort of intelligence? No, it's what you do with it that makes the difference. Of course, having access to the library, having access to the pattern recognition, having access to Google search, and even better, because it knows where to search more systematically, that's all fantastic. But it doesn't change the fundamental issue is, if I have not practiced my identity, if I'm a content creator and all I do is imitate the influencer, I'm boring for everybody else and for myself.
Yes.
But if I'm going to become a creative, but what am I going to create? Well, you have to create from inside. You have to create from yourself. So the real question is, I don't know. Not I do know, but I don't know. And that I experiment. So in that sense, insofar as pattern recognition could help us to give verbal, non-verbal, so visual, video expression, could create the very, kind of ambitious idea of the holodeck, from Star Trek, where you do a simulation where people are interacting with you. All of our technology can take us in that direction if we have the structures in place which give us a sense of it's worth it. I own it. It's not something that somebody's going to steal from me, or somebody can pollute or corrupt.
Yes.
Right now, the data is getting worse and worse because it's chasing its tail. We're throwing more and more garbage into it. And then we say we want to be able to cultivate it. No, it's going to be polluted. So we have a series of challenges to be able to effectively use the tools that we have in what boils down to more democratic ways, more general, more universal, and less hierarchical. So less oriented to the one winner.
Okay. All right.
Which also respects many cultures.
Yes, of course. I don't know if everyone will agree with you on less hierarchical. I mean, it's the left wing and the right wing, but
that's a good question. Whether hierarchy is a left or right thing. Hierarchy has its place in every situation, but hierarchy is also very brittle and very rigid in many ways. And hierarchy is effective in making a castle. So you build a good castle, it's strong, but then you have to make the castle stronger and stronger and stronger, but you also make a target that's more obvious. And if you look at something like COVID, one of the reasons we're fragile and brittle is because we're defending our hierarchies. So if we don't find the right balance between hierarchy and diversity, between change and continuity, then we're very vulnerable. And as a species, it's pretty clear, if you don't go for diversity, you're taking a terrible chance with resilience. Because if you say, I'm going to put all my eggs in one basket, well, you might win. but you might also lose
everything.
That's it, yeah. So we know that the better strategy for resilience is diversification. Where does diversification come from? Difference, creativity, innovation. And for that, hierarchy is not very comfortable because hierarchy doesn't like innovation, doesn't like change, likes things to stay the same.
Yes.
So we need to find the right balance.
Yeah, exactly. That's the right word. Right balance, maybe in the middle, some parts from here, parts from there. Mr. Riel, thanks a lot. Thanks for the lovely talk. I can go for hours with you here. We're limited with time. Thank you so much. Thank you.